Film Club.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison, and with me, as always, it's Andy Donaldson.
Hello.
Every week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us, and this week, it's time to take a look at Casino Royale.
Directed by Martin Campbell, and a little bit of trivia for you, he actually did GoldenEye, one of the previous Bond films. Casino Royale is a kind of a reflavor, a reshuffle of what we know as Bond already. Bond's just been given a 007 status. I mean, I'm a big Bond fan myself. The previous Bonds were kind of like one-offs. This set the pace for kind of a series of films that are one after the other.
It's the first point at which we start to make Bond into a serialized concept. Each one previously had been episodic with a couple of things here or there sort of carrying over. And when this came out, I don't know if you remember this, there was a lot of controversy around the casting of Daniel Craig. At first, people were not happy, and a lot of it was just down to his physical appearance. People thought he wasn't quite as traditionally handsome in the way that Bond had been previously. People weren't happy that he was blonde. And sort of looking back now, a lot of it's very, very silly. But obviously we'd had quite a strict structure for how Bond operated. This really is the film that sort of challenges almost every element of James Bond. You know, it sort of asks you what really makes a Bond film and what can we change while still maintaining something that is James Bond. It's a lot more violent than previous Bond films. I think it's incredibly deliberate to give you a black and white sequence that's very contrasty, to give you something that is so viciously violent and rough. It's not like a sort of a clean, suave kill that he operates on, the first one at least. I think for me, this is definitely one of the better Bond films. When I was a kid, I used to absolutely love Bond films. As time's gone on, I don't really find that same love for them anymore. I do find them a bit formulaic and simple. But that's not to say there isn't spectacle there. And I think that Casino Royale has some of the best balance of character work, plot work, and spectacle at the same time.
So it's interesting because our girlfriend was going to me, was like, who was your favourite Bond? And I always had a lot of me and you growing up, like Pierce Brosnan, who delivered that kind of campiness so well, obviously Sean Connery as well. But she asked me who's your favourite Bond, and I said, you know what, I actually think it might be Daniel Craig. And it's not just down to Daniel Craig alone, but it's down to the whole crew behind these new set of films. And it is such a breathtaking, refreshing take on Bond and kind of what he's become.
Thank you.
I'm the money.
Every penny of it.
Shout out to Chris Cornell and David Arnold, the late Chris Cornell, who did the song "You Know My Name," and it's one of the most underrated Bond scores, Bond themes for in a long time. You got a touch of nostalgia for the old Bond, and then suddenly you're back in the new with an incredible kind of parkour sequence, this action sequence where it's going onto the construction site, and I think one of the best scenes of this whole film, and I forget how long it lasts, is the poker scene, because the poker scene, everyone knows Bond is he's quick-witted, he's good with this. But the poker scene encapsulates what Bond is. It's an intelligent person, he likes to read people. But you see him actually lose. You see him actually get beaten at his own game that he's really confident about. Not only that, but also this incredible scene, and I absolutely love this scene where he gets poisoned and then he has that cardiac arrest, which is a very gritty but also very kind of what we would have in this mundane age, a very realistic example. Got no gadgets or anything like that. You've got a defibrillator, and you've just got to jump your heart back to life because you're on poison. That's quite a realistic portrayal of what it is to, I would like to think what it is to be a secret agent.
Are you familiar with the secret agent life?
No, but I mean, we're talking cars with bloody, machine guns in them and everything. I know which the new film has, to be fair, but or Thunderpants where he's got a jetpack. Do you know what I mean? It was always a bit kind of campy gadgets. He went to. Yeah, but not only that, but he goes back to this poker game and does what Bond does, and kind of he wins with a bit of class and a bit of prestige and a bit of a smirk and kind of a few kind of cheesy lines, let's say, weeping tears and all this.
The thing that I really appreciate about Casino Royale specifically is that yes, we all like the fact that it's this grittier, darker, more realistic Bond, and it's one of the things everybody latched onto when this film came out. It's clearly a response to the Bond films. But what the series sort of goes on to become, especially in, Quantum of Solace and Skyfall and Spectre, and I've got a lot of love for certain elements of those, but the film series starts to really want to take a lot of the campiness out of Bond. And I like that Casino Royale still has a little bit of it there. I like that, when he wakes up from the defibrillator, he sort of says to her, like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Am I okay? Are you okay?" And she's like, "Got to get to a hospital." And he's like, "No, I'm going back in and play poker." And I think that Bond needs a little bit of brevity. He needs a little bit of light to him. And obviously he plays off wonderfully with Mads Mikkelsen.
Stunning.
Mads Mikkelsen is
Chiffre.
Maybe one of my favorite Bond villains, because
I said this.
He's not somebody who's motivated by trying to conquer the world. He's not somebody who's motivated by trying to do whatever crazy big scheme that's going on. And again, old Bond films, those villains sort of work. They are there to be big. But Mads Mikkelsen is small. He's somebody who is basically operating under fear. He's terrified of the fact that the people who he owes money to, and something as simple as owing money, but the people that he owes money to are going to come and either claim that money back in a very violent way or do something even worse to him. And I think he's absolutely fantastic, even though he doesn't know how to use an inhaler.
So you look at the scene in, like, say, for example, Die Another Day, Pierce Brosnan, that kind of, it's got torture scenes that goes into the title music. You look at this one, it's literally, I've got this mace, you've got a set of balls, and we're going to whack it. And what's really cool is Bond's response to that torture, and he's not willing to give up. And then you see the true fear just before his death in his face. What I also liked as well, and a shout out to that, is Eva Green as Vesper Lind. And she was fantastic. I really loved her chemistry. I loved all the chemistry together, to be fair. They all had a great chemistry. But her chemistry with Daniel Craig, how they're eyeing each other up on the train and they kind of like deduce each other and are trying to like scope out. And there's a really good line. He's like, "Oh, you're obviously an orphan," all this. And she goes, "Well, judging by what you said, you must be an orphan." And proper counteracts him like this. She's an intelligent woman herself. She's a good counter to Bond himself. But what's amazing about it is how she is the one that kind of, she's the one that betrays him.
Yeah, I think she bucks the trend of the idea of the Bond girl. I think she plays it really well. She obviously goes on to be quite an influential character. Typically, Bond films would sort of have the female lead become a trophy for Bond. There's flirtation, there's physical attraction, but there's no real emotional engagement there. Beyond a couple minor scenes, this was really sort of the character that challenged that. It does remind me a little bit of, do you remember on Her Majesty's Secret Service, where Bond actually gets married, and then she gets killed at the end? And I always remember seeing that as a kid and thinking it was the first time Bond is shown to lose. It's that one film that stuck in my head because you just don't see James Bond lose. You see him somehow pull victory and get the girl at the end. There's moments and things like Goldfinger where you see a little bit of a loss, but to have a villain sort of drive by and kill his wife was sort of an impactful moment. And I think that's probably topped here with the mixture of being double-crossed and then still having an emotional engagement and then still like losing her at the end to have it haunt him for the rest of the series. I think it works really well.
Which is brilliant. It is brilliant. Also, a little shout out to Jeffrey Wright as well as Felix. It was lovely to have that introduction. Felix is a recurring character in the previous Bond films, and to have that kind of like, we're allies here, and that little subtle nod at the end when he wins, it is lovely. That it's a nice, it's a lovely introduction to Felix there, who himself plays a great part throughout the rest of the series. Now, this new series, I would argue Skyfall is probably my favourite, and a lot of people do say Casino Royale is theirs, and I can see why now after rewatching this again after so long. 100% I can see why. It's a fantastic film.
I think Bond films inherently come with frustrating limitations for me. They inherently feel the need to have action sequences for the sake of action sequences. I'd happily cut some of the action out of this film, streamline it a little bit more. By the way, I know everyone gives flack to Lord of the Rings Return of the King for ending multiple times. I'm sorry, this film, Casino Royale, it ends about 3 or 4 times and then keeps going, like incredible. There's still about a good sort of like 20% of the film left after the torture sequence. So there is Casino Royale. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of Casino Royale. But Andy and I will be back once again next week, where we're going to take a look at the Boondock Saints.
Cheers very much. Enjoy Bond.
Till then, get watching.